What's happening, guys? Today I want to give you the 5 top things that I've learned while selling on Amazon in 2020. The reason I want to cover these is I feel if you keep these 5 things in the back of your mind, it could save you a ton of money and a ton of time. So let's jump in. Number 1 is the huge opportunity in higher priced giftable items. And this is the area that to me has emerged as the absolute highest potential product on Amazon currently. And as we've covered 1,000 times, a higher priced item is going to be more profitable than a lower priced item if they're in the same size tier. But moving on to the second piece of this, which is giftable items. So we're talking about higher priced giftable items. Giftable items actually have 6 advantages I want to touch on. Firstly, people will pay more when they're gifting. And the reason they do that, as a lot of you will know, is when you're gifting a product to someone, that's kind of self-reflective. And so you're willing to spend more to ensure that's going to be a really good product, a really good gift for that person. So people are willing to pay more here. Number 2, these products generally have huge creative development potential, which is the big thing we look at. How much can we develop that product and how much will it be valued? Well, giftable items usually afford you a huge opportunity in that regard to make things more unique and improve them. And more than that, when people are searching for gift items, they're comparing more, they're spending more time on this purchase. And so your overall creative development here is going to be more valued. It's going to be more noticed by the customers buying gifts, and that makes it more worthwhile for you to do. 3, these products often benefit from multiple search terms. So they have their normal search terms, but then they often have gift search terms. So it could be whiskey glass set for men in your more general search terms, but then these products also have other search terms like whiskey gift set for men, whiskey gifts for men, etc. So you have more search terms, and why that's important is it's more paths to your market, to your ideal customer. And what that means is that the general cost per click when you're paying for ads on all these different keywords, the cost per click is generally a bit lower, or at least you're going to be able to find some keywords in there that are going to have profitable campaigns when you run ads for them. And on the other hand, you're not having to focus all your efforts and really try and rank on 1 or 2 main search terms. You have more search terms to rank your product on, and ranking on any of them could bring you decent sales. So in a way, it spreads risk when you have more search terms. And in this sense, giftable items do have that advantage. 4, these products generally have a variety of peak sales seasons through the year. They bought a lot during Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthdays, wedding season, Christmas, etc. So they have these big peaks throughout the entire year if your gift is not too specific to one of those. And this is actually quite an important one, because if you look at Q4 with Christmas and how much sales escalate during that period, if you have a giftable item that escalates in these ways throughout the year in on these different special days, you're actually going to see a significant boost in sales overall as compared to like a more normal product. If you have even a small percentage of the boost you get in Q4, but you're having them throughout the year. Number 5, the gifting experience is more memorable than you just receiving a product and opening it for yourself. When you actually gift someone else a product, that's a more memorable experience. And why is this important for us? Well, it results in higher review rates. So when you reach out for a review, it's actually more likely to happen because the person remembers that experience of gifting that person. And the other thing here is within that memorable experience is the recipient, the person receiving the gift. And they are generally going to be appreciative of receiving the gift, regardless of their internal feelings. They don't want to come across as unappreciative. They're going to be very happy with receiving this gift. And what you have done is you have made the gifter, the customer who bought your product to give it as a gift, you have completed their job for them successfully because the recipient was happy when they received the gift. And so when you ask the gifter, your customer, for a review, generally you're going to have a higher review rate because it's a more memorable experience. And generally it's a positive review because you helped them complete their job, which was providing a gift that would make the recipient happy. And number 6, the buyer, the gifter, does not actually use the product. So this is a good thing for reviews again, because that buyer, the gifter, since they're not actually using the product, they're unlikely to go back and adjust that review. Also, the recipient, the person actually using the product, is very unlikely to, point out flaws or problems with the product, because that's going to come across as unappreciative to the gifter, the person they got the product from. So in general, your reviews are quite safe once posted because the actual buyer is not actually using that product. And I want to be clear, this doesn't mean you can have a low quality product here. It's just pointing out the review advantage of giftable items. So that completes point 1 for us here, is that higher priced giftable items, in my opinion, is the absolute highest potential niche on Amazon. Moving on to number 2, this is to run out rather than over order. It can often be quite tempting to order a large quantity of products. It might be that you're very excited about the idea. It might be pressure from the supplier because they can, offer you a better unit cost if you order more, or they're perhaps actually just trying to meet a deadline for a number of orders or to get some supplier award. It could be anything like that. And it might just be that your product's selling really well and you feel like really going all out with a bigger order quantity. But I just want to apply some caution here and just give you some insights on things that can happen and why I advocate against that, and always looking at the risk reward. So this year, I placed an order for 3,000 units for a certain product. And then with a bit of pressure from the supplier, and just because the product was selling so well, I thought, let me go ahead. I'm going to almost immediately place the reorder for 3,000 just after I had placed a 3,000 unit order. And I went ahead and did that, but it's usually something I would not have done. I would have got that inventory moving quite a bit, and then I would have placed the reorder for the next 3,000. But Q4 was coming up and I just went ahead with it. But that was actually a mistake. About 2 or 3 weeks after that, an issue came up which essentially froze the listing and therefore kind of stranded 6,000 units of product, which amounted to something like $70,000. And that would have usually just been the 35,000, and then I haven't placed the reorder yet. That's usually the situation I create because we are not sure what's going to happen in the future. Now, on the other hand, there have been many times with the same product where I've run out of inventory and been out of inventory for 2 weeks to 1 month to 6 weeks. I think at one point even 2 months. And I can tell you this for sure. It is much better to run out of stock and then have a bit of downtime than to overorder and then something comes up which puts you in a very difficult position. Much easier to run out. You close the listing on the edit drop down, as you can see over here. And then when you have available units there in manage inventory again, you simply reopen that listing. Generally, I found with a bit of aggressive PPC, you get that listing straight back to where it was before, even if you've been out of stock for say 6 weeks. A much more difficult problem to have is all the stock which you cannot move. That is the worst issue I've seen sellers have. It's the worst issue I've personally had. That's where people get stuck. It's even the same when you choose potential products. Choosing the wrong product's not the problem. It's often having too much inventory of the wrong product. That's where the actual problem comes in, and that's where the capital is actually tied up. Otherwise, you could just change the idea and invest the capital somewhere else. So I really want to emphasize this today, is that you rather want to run out of stock than overorder and put yourself in a bit of a precarious position if things go wrong. And number 3 is to click the like button. Actually, number 3 is to take care with copyrights and trademarks. The first thing you always want to do is triple check that your brand name, your word mark, it's often going to be yourname.com as well on your website. It's the physical name printed onto your products, your brand name. That one must not conflict with already registered trademarks. We've got a ton of videos on that as well. In fact, I'm going to link the videos at the end in a card up here. I'll link those for you on one, going into more depth on the issue I just discussed on getting all the stranded inventory, and 2, on how to do your brand name checks and choose the right brand name for Amazon. So that's the first thing you want to do, is always triple check the brand name. But secondly, you also want to check the general product for icons, marks, symbols that might actually conflict with registered copyrights, which are a little bit different. But those two, if they're protected, can result in big problems for you and your inventory. Now, with icons and symbols and things like that on the product, if they don't add much value to the product, I would almost advocate just removing them. Often, these are going to be icons and symbols on the base supplier's version of your product, which they're kind of making for sale to you, and then you go adapt it and change it. Those are often really dangerous because your supplier is not going and checking your marketplace where you sell. They're not going and looking there for trademark or copyright infringements. That's for you to do. So it's very important, even on supplier's base version of the product, that you're looking at those symbols and icons, remove them if they don't add value to the product, or at least tweak them to make them your own. Now, if you're unsure about your brand name or symbols on your product, I really recommend hiring an attorney, a trademark or copyright attorney, to have a look at this for you. It is worth it. Another thing I will say here is when you weigh down the results on Amazon, let's say your offer's on page 3, you're not going to hear about this. You're going to hear about this when you are top of page 1. That's when the big companies and their trademark lawyers are looking for problems or infringements, and that's when you're going to get an infringement claim. So it's important you fix this before you get to the top of page 1 or just onto page 1. You've got to fix it before your sales really spike. So that's just something else to note. And number 4 is to be wise with currency conversion. With a lot of us working online, and it might not even just be in e-commerce, but you live in one country and then you sell products or services in another country or in multiple other countries. What's happening is you're earning currencies in all these different countries, and then you're bringing them back to your home currency. And your ultimate goal, of course, is to end up with the most of your home currency as possible. And that is where exchange rates come in. Now, I convert a lot of US dollars to British pounds, for example. And just this year, $1 US bought 0.72 pounds at one point, but that same $1 US bought 0.86 pounds at another point. So essentially, let's say you're moving $50,000 into pounds. At one point, that would make 43,000 pounds, but at the other point, it would make 36,000 pounds, which is a massive difference of 7,000 pounds or $9,300 at today's rate. So it's a huge difference, and I see far too many people just kind of going with whatever the rate is and not actually paying attention to that. Now, you might be making the same type of exchange between bank accounts when you withdraw from PayPal or Payoneer or some other service, or even when you're paying your suppliers, and you want to be focusing on exchange rates and where those are when you make those transfers or payments. And the one service I found to be incredibly helpful with this for me has been World First. Now, there's many different services out there that might be more applicable for you or your country or currencies or what you do online, but that has helped me immensely in terms of locking in exchange rates when I want to lock them in, or simply holding funds there until I wish to transfer them at that day's exchange rate. So just something to note, because a lot of you are going to be swapping currencies all the time, and this is something you can definitely take advantage of. And number 5 is do not undervalue influencer marketing. And while building your own audience is an excellent thing to do, there are already people out there who have audiences full of people looking to buy your product. The toughest part of this is actually getting them to agree to run your product in a promotion to their audience. But if you do manage to land a good one, you're going to see your sales skyrocket. And in my opinion, this is one of the absolute best launch strategies you can implement. Now, two of the sites I found really useful for this is one, Upfluence.com, and the second one is called influence.co. I'm going to link both of those below for you as well. Not affiliated links, but those are the ones I found to be the most helpful. Another thing I found successful is that you just search the platform you're interested in promoting on, for example, YouTube, and then you find channels that house audiences you're looking to sell your product to. They are full with your ideal buyer. And then what you do is you reach out to that channel's owner from their channel email. It's a business email in the About section of their YouTube channel. Now, how you reach out to them is everything. I want to give you a couple tips when you do reach out to influencers. Number one is reach out to many of them. A lot of them are not going to reply. You have to remember they're inundated with requests. Often it's just going to get buried in their mailbox. It's very difficult to stand out, and you almost need to catch people at the right time. So cast a wide net and reach out to a lot of them. Two, extremely important, mention their content. You want to come across as having actually viewed their content. Personally, I can even tell you this when someone does reach out to me on my channel. If I can see that they've actually watched my videos, they know what I do, they might even quote a piece of it, that I'm much more interested in. I'm much more interested in partnering with them because they actually have taken the time to know what I do, rather than just kind of a blanket promotional email they're sending to a ton of people on YouTube. So you want to watch this creator's content and actually tell them what you like about their content. Make it personal and tell them why this is a good fit. Three, offer them huge value. Remember, they have a lot of requests. How are you going to stand out? You've got to say to them, I'm willing to give you a ton of free units you can run a competition with your audience with. It's going to be great for you and your audience. Your audience is going to love that. Or I'm willing to pay you a fee for this promotion, or give them the option of what they prefer. And four, explain why your product itself is a perfect fit for them and their audience. Why would they love your product? Make sure they want your product. If the influencer themselves wants your product, you have a very good chance of them running a promotion for you. So make sure they want your product. Tell them why they want it. Tell them why the audience will love the product. And another thing I like to do here is to try de-risk this situation for the influencer. So I'll provide them social proof in the form of like reviews. It could even be your Amazon reviews, because that's objective proof that your product is good. And so it's a lower risk decision for that influencer. And number six, just as a bonus, have patience. Things do not happen overnight. This has been a testing year in terms of this, wanting things to just happen really quickly, wanting to sort out problems really quickly. Things take time. Have patience. What you're building is something for the long term, and that's okay. Things are not happening overnight for anyone else. So take your time, do a good job with what you're doing, and it's going to pay you back in the future. And as mentioned earlier, if you do want to know more about those problems I faced with copyrights, trademarks, or you want to know more about branding, choosing your brand name, checking your brand name against existing trademarks, and check these videos up here. Drop us a quick like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, notifications on, but most of all, I hope you enjoyed these 5 lessons. Hopefully just sidestep those mistakes so you don't have to go through them. But keeping these things top of mind, I think is really going to help you as you progress with your business. But I hope you're doing very, very well, and I will see you in the next video.